You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. I wanted to take a moment, considering I'm not starting today with a practice report because we didn't have practice access, to talk about Omar Speights in particular, because earlier today, ESPN put together a list, and it's the top 50 transfers or freshmen, basically ranking the newcomers in college football this year. And you know how I feel. I hate lists. It's not about what order anybody's in. It's arbitrary. It's completely subjective, and it's stupid. It's just something that people do this time of year to get clicks and talk and conversation. So I'm not going to react or overreact to what order or number somebody's in. It's just a launching point to have this conversation. For example, they have Travis Hunter at Colorado number 1 on the list. Sam Hartman at Notre Dame number 2. Makes a lot of sense, right? Might well be, leaving Wake Forest, going to Notre Dame, should be the starting quarterback there for the Irish. Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, number 3 on the list as well. For a lot of reasons, all that makes sense. Anyway, there are 3 LSU Tigers on the list. The first one listed is Omar Speights. They grade Omar Speights as the 7th most important newcomer in all of college football this year. By the way, it's not just Speights. The LSU guys on this list are all clustered together pretty closely. They have Zy Alexander just 3 spots later at number 10 on the list. Actually, Zy Alexander 1 spot ahead of Devin Leary at Kentucky. And the final LSU Tiger on the list is Denver Harris at number 13 on the list. Now, you want to talk about how insignificant lists are? Denver Harris is presently running 3rd team cornerback right now. Deuce Chestnut, who has by far been LSU's best defensive back in this fall camp, and is the guy who I would say is a no doubt lock to be a starter on one side against Florida State, isn't on this list yet. 2 other cornerback transfers are. So again, make of the list what you will. That's not so much significant, as it was a launching point to think about which transfers this year for LSU were going to be the most impactful and play the biggest role. See, a year ago, this question was easy. Now, I might have been the only one answering it this way, but Brian Kelly didn't bring Jaden Daniels in a year ago for him to sit. They brought him in because they went through spring and realized, yeah, we probably need another guy. We're not content with the group we have. And so they went and got Jaden Daniels from Arizona State. I'll say it again. They didn't bring him here to sit. A lot of people were big Miles Brennan fans, and I get it. Waited his turn. It was a great story and all. You battled injuries. They knew what they had. Okay? And then obviously when you lost Ricks and McLaughlin a year ago, bringing in Jark Bernard Converse and Mekhi Gardner and Cody Dickerson, a.k.a. Colby Richardson, all those guys, that was important. Brooks, Fouché, all the defensive backs last year were so important for a lot of reasons. This year, the fact that it's harder to identify who is probably the most important transfer on this team does really speak to, I think, the stability on this team. And it's got to be on the defensive side of the ball. And so you're really looking at any of 3 levels. Last year you rotated 3 interior linemen. Could you be looking at one of the interior tackles? Probably not, because you got Mason Smith and you got Mekhi Wingo and you got Jacoby and Guillory. You got some guys there that have played and have played well. Cornerback makes a lot of sense. You could look at that because you lose all the guys that were impactful for you a year ago. You return 1 scholarship cornerback in LaTerrence Welch. But I'm going to keep looking at Omar Speights. And maybe this is maybe I'm contradicting myself a little bit, because I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact of what Greg Penn has been for this team, or was a year ago. And maybe some of it was out of necessity, but we know Harold Perkins is moving inside and is going to be a starter. That's a given. That's a lock. Harold Perkins is going to be one of your inside backers. The question is, who is going to start opposite him? And the fact that this coaching staff went and got Omar Speights from Oregon State, a guy who played for 4 years, had been a 3-year starter at Oregon State, the fact that they went and got him is it's the same premise as to why a year ago they went and got Jaden Daniels. See, the point about Greg Penn, last year, Micah Baskerville was your stud. I mean, he made 100 tackles and was right there in the heart of your defense. But your other starter next to Baskerville a year ago was Greg Penn. Greg Penn started all 14 games a year ago. We lose sight of that because they did have a rotation. But Greg Penn started all 14 games a year ago. West Weeks backed him up and played some special teams. And you're bringing in Whit Weeks and Christian Braithwaite. I mean, you had some numbers there. But they felt like there was an opportunity to bring in a guy who's a true number one leader. And coincidentally, Omar Speights is wearing number one for LSU. And fittingly, I do think he is the most important person among this transfer class. Greg Penn, while he started 14 games a year ago, West Weeks started 1 game as a freshman at Virginia. West Weeks has 59 career tackles. In 2 seasons in college, 59 total tackles, West Weeks. When you look at Greg Penn, in his 14 games played, compare that to Omar Speights, who has played in 45 career games. He was a backup as a freshman, started 3 years, has played in 45 games, and has made 308 career tackles. The guy you just brought in is a dude that has been an impactful guy at the major college level for 4 years and has, for his career, 308 career tackles. You are bringing in a guy that is a tackling machine, and you are bringing him in to be a tackling machine. By contrast, Greg Penn in his career has 89 tackles. So if you combine Greg Penn and West Weeks, you combine their career numbers, that's still less production than Omar Speights has. So, yeah. It's not just that they needed a body because they had bodies at that spot. They brought in a guy that was better than anybody they had at that spot. And so it made you better. It improved your defense at arguably the most important spot on the defense right there with your middle linebacker. The guy who's going to make all the calls and who's going to make 100 tackles and is going to eat up blocks to free up Harold Perkins to go be a freak show and pressure the quarterback and aid that secondary and be a leader and call all the defense and call out the offense and all the signals and the signs. Yes, I think Omar Speights is the most important transfer that LSU added this year. The corners are going to play a ton. There's no doubt. Deuce Chestnut, I think, is right behind Omar Speights as level of importance. And I think Deuce Chestnut's going to have a great year. And Zai and Denver Harris and all the guys that we've been talking about. But the coaches sometimes tell you without telling you. And when you had bodies at linebacker, but you still went and added that guy, it told you, yeah, it's not just the position. It's the guy they were able to add at the position. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.